In this video, I'll show you how I added magnets to my Redemptor Dreadnought. Hello everyone, this is Jason from Warhammer Gaming, and in this video I'll be showing how I added magnets to this Primaris Redemptor Dreadnought. So looking at this combat patrol picture here, I plan to magnetize the following. The right weapon arm, so I can choose between the Gatling cannon or plasma incinerator. These two chest-mounted weapons here, so I have the choice between the Fragstorm grenade launchers or storm bolters. And lastly, the weapon that is attached under the Redemptor fist, so I have a choice between the heavy flamer or Gatling cannon. Now, you may be wondering, why am I doing this? To put my reason in one word, options. Instead of gluing the weapons on and being stuck with my weapon choices here, I can now choose which weapons I want to use. Depending on the army that I'm facing, perhaps it may be better to take the plasma incinerator instead of the Gatling cannon. Or maybe I should take the storm bolters instead of the grenade launchers. With the weapons now magnetized, I can switch to the weapons that I want. Now, one thing to note is that I'm building this dreadnought that is coming from the Dark Angels Combat Patrol box. However, truth be told, I don't know if the piece numbers will be the same as in other Combat Patrol boxes or the standalone Dreadnought box, so keep that in mind. Lastly, before we start, I want to show you the tools that we'll need. First, of course, you'll need magnets. These magnets that I'll be using for the Dreadnought are 3x2mm magnets. Next, you'll need a pin vise hand drill with a 3mm drill bit. Lastly, you'll need some glue for the magnets, and for me, I'm using this Gorilla Super Glue Gel. So, with our tools all ready, let's get going. Okay, so now we've reached this point in the construction of the Dreadnought, and now we're going to encounter the first 6 pieces that we're going to need to drill holes in. These pieces are E74 and 77. And then these 4 pieces here, E73, 76, 75, and 78. Okay, so we cut out our first 6 pieces, and the first holes we're going to drill are in this area here, and this area here for these 2 pieces. Now, as you drill the hole, you want to use the magnet to make sure that the hole you're drilling matches the width of the magnet here. Okay, so we drilled holes into these 2 pieces here. So when you put a magnet in this piece here, get the camera to focus, you can see it's pretty flush, pretty flat against the surface there. The only issue here, and it's not really a big issue in my opinion, I did punch through the other side of this piece, but it should be okay because this piece already has a gap in it. So once I spray paint everything, paint it over, probably in black, it should not be noticeable or just only noticeable a little bit. Now for this piece here, I was actually about to punch through the other side, did not want that for this piece. So I stopped short of that, and then when you put the magnet in there, it's not exactly flat against the surface, it does stick out a little bit. So to solve that issue, I drilled a hole a little bit here, so then the part that sticks out on this piece will end up in this hole here. And that should solve that issue. Okay, so all the holes are drilled, time to glue on the magnets. So to glue the magnets, first thing, take this piece here, just add a drop, just 1 drop of glue around this area near the end here. Then take the magnet and just put it on top, and then maybe use a toothpick or something else. Just put it down there and just let it set, depending on the type of glue you use, maybe 5-10 minutes, maybe a little longer. But just wait for it to set before moving on to the next step. And then we'll do the same for this one here. Okay, so once the glue here has dried, now it's time to glue in the magnets into these other 4 pieces here. So the first thing that we should do is just make sure that we get the right polarity for the magnet. To do that, just take this piece here and then just try to attract the magnet like that. Next, I suggest you take something like a marker here and then mark this side here. So you might be wondering, why am I doing this? Well, in case you drop the magnet, you know now which side should be facing down and which side should be facing up. In this case, the side that I marked will be facing down. So now that we know which side is facing down, next thing we have to do is just add in some glue. Again, just a small drop into the piece here. And then take the magnet, place it inside there. And then now you'll repeat this step for the other 3 pieces here. Okay, so now that the glue has dried, we now have the ability to switch out our chest-mounted weapons. So, now that this step is done, I'll continue assembling my Dreadnought until the next time I need to put on some magnets. So for the weapons under the Redemptor Dreadnought's fist, we want to build the left arm up to this point here, so just before we seal it. So what we want to do next is stack 2 magnets inside in the back corner right there. So what you can do is just take 2 magnets, just place them inside here, and we want them standing. So just take a toothpick or something, get them standing around there. Then what you want to do next is take a dab of super glue, and just dab a bit in the inside corner there, and then push it magnets down, get the super glue mixed up in there, and then wait for it to dry. So once the glue has dried and the magnets are in place, the next thing we need to do is assemble the weapons and put the magnets inside the weapons. So the first weapon that we'll do is the flamer weapon, and as you can see, I actually kind of put it together already, except for this final step here, which is actually putting the 2 halves together because we need to put the magnets inside it. So let's do that. Okay, so first we need to grab a couple of magnets, and we have to magnetize it to the arm here. So now we know which side the magnet is attracted to, so we'll mark the other side. And then the same thing with the second magnet. Next thing we need to do is take this piece here and then add a couple dabs of super glue at the top here. And then just push one of the magnets there at the top here. Of course, making sure that the side that you marked is facing down. Okay, so once the glue around this magnet has dried, we can put in our second magnet. So admittedly, I had a little bit of trouble getting the first magnet into place. Got some super glue on my finger and fingernails, don't want to do that. So for the second magnet, I decided to put it in place first, and then we can dab in the super glue after. Okay, so now that the glue on both magnets have dried up, we can now just take our second half here and then just combine it and seal it up. In my case, I'll be using Citadel plastic glue. Okay, so after the flamer is finished, the next thing we need to do is put together the Gatling cannon. So just like the flamer, I put together most of the Gatling cannon here, except for this step here, which combines the two halves. So where do we want to put the magnets here? So it's in this piece. And specifically, we want to put the magnets in the top half here. But as you can see, there's some, pieces in the place. So we're gonna have to drill out or cut out some space. Okay, so not exactly the cleanest job, but I think it'll do. I primarily use my drill here to just drill holes, clear an area at the top. In hindsight, maybe we could have used a hobby knife or clippers to clear that area also, but as long as we clear a space for the top area here, we're good. So the next step, of course, we're going to get a magnet, and we're going to magnetize it here and then mark down which area is going to face down. Okay, so we put the magnet in its place. Now to add in a dab of super glue. And again, if you want, just use a toothpick to just help get it into place right around here. Okay, so once the glue here has dried, time for our second magnet. Okay, so the glue on the magnets is now dry. Unfortunately, as you can see, I couldn't get one of the magnets to be completely flat against the top here, but at this angle it should still be okay. Anyway, so now that that's done, we can combine it with the other piece and glue it together. Okay, so the left arm is now built, as is the fist, and the weapons that belong under the fist. And now, thanks to the magnets, we have the ability to switch these weapons out. Okay, so now we're on to the next part, which is magnetizing the big weapons on the right arm. So first you want to take these two pieces here. So here we go. Okay, and then you want to actually glue them together first. Okay, so this piece is now glued together. So before you're about to drill, just one thing to note, you'll see that the edge here is kind of on an angle. When you drill, you want to drill straight on, so basically matching this line, this indent here. Okay, so the hole here has been widened, so all we have to do next is just take some glue, add in a drop, and then take our magnet and then put it in there. Use a toothpick to help just jam it in there. Basically try and push it down as far as it can go. Okay, so next thing we have to do is that for both this plasma weapon and the Gatling cannon, we want to cut off just a piece of this nub here at the top. Not all the way, just let's say around 2/3 of it off. To cut this nub off, I'm going to be using these clippers here that I use to cut the pieces out of the sprues. I'm going under the assumption that you have something similar, but whatever you use to cut the pieces out, you can use it for this nub. Okay, so with the nub now trimmed down, next thing we have to do is attach the magnet to it. As before, grab a magnet, stick it on this end, and then mark it. So in this case, the mark side is going to face down on the nub. So just a quick note before we add the glue, we only just want to add a tiny little bit, and especially we do not want it to get in the gears. Otherwise, we won't be able to move it around like so if it's stuck. Okay, so I finished putting together the right shoulder of the Dreadnought. There's the magnet right there. And then here's my Gatling cannon with the magnet on the nub there. Put it together. And works pretty good in my opinion. Now, what about the plasma incinerator? So originally, I used the same methodology for the plasma weapon as I did for the Gatling cannon. This would explain why I used the plasma weapon as the example, because I thought the outcome would be the same for both weapons. However, I found when I attached the plasma incinerator to the shoulder, it tended to lean forward and fall off. This is because the weight for the Gatling cannon is mostly on the back half of the weapon, while the majority of the weight for the plasma weapon is on the front half of the weapon, so that's why it leans forward. So my only solution was to increase the magnetic strength of the back half as well as the weight. And the only way I could really do that was more magnets. But now the question is, how many magnets to use? So let's use the Gatling cannon as an example. Pretend it's the plasma incinerator. What I did was I basically took a stack of magnets, just, stuck them right there, and then stuck them on the shoulder like that. And I found about 5 magnets provided a pretty decent hold for the plasma incinerator. Now obviously, seeing a stack of magnets like this holding the weapon together does not look good. As such, what I did next was take 5 magnets and glue them together. And then what I did with the plasma incinerator was completely cut off the nub at the top and then drill down until it's about 4 magnets deep. Periodically checking with these magnets to see how deep the hole is. So, now that the hole is dug, I've marked which end of the magnets needs to be inserted in. Let's glue it and hope it works. Okay, so here it is with the magnets glued in. So in a previous scene, I probably just put in text to say use 4 magnets instead of 5 magnets because I could only drill about 3 magnets deep. But that's okay, that should still be just enough magnetic strength. Okay, so how does it work now? So definitely better, swivels, but definitely better hold here. I noticed that it holds better if you have the gun on a slight angle here. But other than that, other than a bit of swivel here, it's definitely holding a lot better than how it was before. Alright, the Dreadnought is now put together and all the magnets are now in place, and I just wanted to give my final thoughts on the whole process. So it's probably obvious to those of you who magnetize a lot of your models that this is my first time attempting it. If I'm honest with myself, I think I did an okay job. If I have to give myself a letter grade, I'd probably give myself a C. Basically, the work was done, but it could have been better. I think one of the things I should have done is use smaller magnets, especially for the weapons under the fist. So for example, we'll take this off here. I could have used maybe 3x1 magnets instead of the 3x2mm magnets, and I would have been able to drill shallower holes on the surface of the weapon as well as under the fist. This would have allowed the magnets to be placed on the surface and allow them to make physical contact with each other, giving a decent holding strength with fewer magnets. Also, for the plasma incinerator in particular, I'm debating whether I should have used a wider magnet, like a 4x2 or 5x2mm magnet, on top of the gun to give it more holding strength. Personally, I'm okay with having the plasma incinerator angled down a bit to make sure that the magnets that I do have there hold it in place. However, if I wanted to take pictures with the plasma weapon pointing forward or upwards, maybe I need stronger or bigger magnets. Now, of course, I'll be painting this model, so we need to get this primed for painting, and for the primer, I'll be using Gray Seer. Okay, this Dreadnought is ready for painting, and I'll be doing that in another video. In any case, I do hope you enjoyed watching this video. As mentioned before, this is my first time magnetizing a model, and if you're new to doing it, I hope that this video at least provided some inspiration on what you could do, and of course, what not to do. Anyways, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and check out my other social media accounts in the description below. Until next time, this is Jason from Warhammer Gaming, signing off.